Mr. Blunt.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. McKay, on the issue of cleanup, I think your company has said that you're going to be fully responsible for whatever the cost of the cleanup. Is that right?
That is correct.
And what about economic damages?
Yes, we've said that we would honor all legitimate claims. That's right.
So the current cap, which actually I've introduced some legislation that would retroactively impact that cap, but you're not concerned by you're not going to use the limit of the current civil damages cap at all. You've pledged to respond to all legitimate claims for damages.
That's right. We've said that we will ignore that cap, and that cap is irrelevant for this particular matter.
And the cash reserves of the company suggest that you'd be able to do that?
We believe so.
What are the cash reserves of the company right now?
I don't know the cash reserves of the company right now.
Do you have cash on hand? I mean, is there a cash number of available cash that you could turn to?
I can get back to you on that. I don't know that offhand.
All right, I'd like to see that. And what about the payment of dividend with this kind of exposure out there? Is a company revisited the dividend issue at all? I think of a $2 billion dividend with this kind of unknown exposure. Does that seem like something that the company should be doing right now?
Our chairman has said publicly that we will. Our priority is the Gulf Coast and making things right on the Gulf Coast, and then we will have to balance the other components of dividend, investment, balance sheet.
Well, has the chairman said are the dividends going to be paid or not?
That decision has not been made yet.
Has not been made yet. So that's still something the company can look at as it looks at the overall financial cost of the cleanup and the civil damages. Is that right?
Yes. Second quarter dividend decision has not been made yet.
How many U.S. employees does British Petroleum have?
About 23,000.
What percentage of your overall employee workforce would that be? Are there more U.S. employees of British Petroleum than any other country?
Yes, by quite a bit.
By quite a bit?
Probably by triple.
My mic here or not? It was one of my phones, I guess, too close to the mic. On this issue of the relief well, Mr. Tillerson, I think you said that it would double the risk of the problem. Then I heard the person that asked the question still say didn't understand why we wouldn't be doing this. Why would you want to double the risk? And maybe you can't answer that since you said you would double the risk. How would this, again, let me ask this one more time. Why would that double the risk potential rather than provide more safety to the situation?
Well, whatever risk exposure you're trying to manage with the exploration well would be the same risk exposure you would be having to manage with the relief well.
And does any country require a relief well right now?
No, not one drilled concurrent with the exploratory well.
All right,
I'm
puzzled. I think I understand why you double the risk. I also understand when you've got a problem, how you try to get to the source and relieve the pressure. I guess that's what the current BP relief well would do, but I don't understand why anybody thinks that doubling the cost of drilling a well would have any positive impact on, and you don't believe any other country requires a relief well being drilled at the same time?
I know, at least in the countries where we operate, no one does. And
how long, Mr. Watson, how long do you think these platforms can set in the Gulf right now that are not being used? At some point, you have to make a decision that even though the well is partially drilled, are they going to allow the partially drilled wells to be completed, or what's your sense of this moratorium idea?
If you're referring to the rigs that we have idled, we have not yet moved these rigs out of the country, but the industry and we will respond if it appears that the moratorium is going to extend indefinitely, or if it's not clear when we can put these rigs back in service. They can sit for a long time, but the market for deep water rigs is robust right now. Deep water wells are being drilled all over the world, and developments are taking place around the world, and there is demand for these rigs.
And I assume if you move these out, it takes some time to move them and takes some time to decide whether you'd ever move them back or not. Would that be a reasonable assumption?
Certainly there are mobilization costs. There are contracts that have to be arranged. There are partner arrangements in the new country or area where it will be drilled. And once it's drilled, those same impediments are in place to moving them back. So it would be an issue for development in the Gulf of Mexico if we were to lose those rigs. Ultimately, they can return, but in many cases, they'll be put in service elsewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The chairman recognizes